This is AMI This Week.
Welcome back. I'm Molly Burke, and standing to my left is my co-host, Anthony McLachlan. Which leads us to our next story. It can be really hard to get out there and make new friends, especially for those of us living with disabilities. But LiveWorkPlay is celebrating their 20th anniversary of integrating those with disabilities into the Ottawa area.
One of the overlooked components of what they do is helping people overcome social barriers through play. With a medieval sword in hand, Dave Brown looks at one man's passion and his new friends.
Fred Dixon has an intellectual disability, which can make it really difficult to go out and have a good time. But he also has a really cool hobby, swordplay. LiveWorkPlay Ottawa put him in touch with a local swordplay group. Let's meet Fred.
My name is Fred Dixon, and we are at Ottawa Swordplay. I've always had an interest in all forms of martial arts, including medieval Western, also Eastern as well.
My name is Craig Shackleton. My title is I'm the Hauptmann, which just means captain of Ottawa Swordplay, and I teach medieval sword fighting. Fred's been coming off and on for about a year.
And how did Fred react to his first few classes?
He was fairly withdrawn, but during the class he focused a lot, even right from the beginning. He pays attention to what's going on, and he really actually has an aptitude for adopting the motions that I'm trying to get him to do.
Well, as you get into it, you get used to it, you get going with the flow. I am a bit of a quick study, so that kind of helps.
Craig and his co-instructor put on menacing-looking metal helmets. And with authentic 3-foot-long metal swords in hand, they bring the class together to demonstrate a sword technique used in medieval armed combat.
And I do my Ansetsen. My sword's coming in pointed at his face. He strikes with his edge against my flat, so he's in a really strong position.
Fred watches with interest.
And then I'm going to rotate into the thumb grip and push.
Now it's the students' turn. Geared up in period helmets and grasping long, shiny metal swords, the students randomly pair up and practice the technique. For Fred, this has an additional purpose, a chance to meet someone new, something that is very difficult for Fred.
People that I met here, I would have not have met otherwise. It's great to be out here, getting to move around, meet new people. Feels great.
Like in The Wizard of Oz, there is an unknown hidden force working behind the scenes. It makes everything come together for Fred. Enter LiveWorkPlay, an organization dedicated to helping people like Fred.
Keenan Wellar, co-leader and director of communications at LiveWorkPlay. We help the community welcome people with intellectual disabilities to live, work, and play as valued citizens.
Keenan explains why the play component of LiveWorkPlay is so important.
It's just as important as anything else, and when we started sorting out how to support people to have a full life in the community, we realized that it all works together. So you might have a good home life, but if you're not active in your community, that's not a full life. And you might have a job, but you might not have any friends. And so it's all a circular social capital sort of model. We spend a lot of time getting to know the person and their personality. And then we get into the culture of the people in that club as much as we can. Who are sort of we call them gatekeepers. Who are the people, it might not be the leader of the class, it might be the most class. Who's the person that steps up and says, hey, glad you could join us.
What are the positive benefits of getting people with an intellectual disability involved in that kind of play?
Individuals that we're supporting, a lot of them, their sort of peer group has tended to be very small throughout their lives because they were often segregated in schools, and then that kind of transferred into their adult lives.
Back at the school, it's not only Fred's combat technique that is improving.
So he ended up on the wrong side of the blade. I think once he got the idea that people here are pretty open to working with him, or really with anybody, that he became a little bit more open to them as well, which is really good.
Well, I was excited during my first class, and I'm still super excited to be here.
And what if Fred couldn't come to swordplay?
Oh man, don't say that.
Sorry, I shouldn't cast those negative vibes out into the ether.
Oh, no.
LiveWorkPlay seems like a really smart organization, and Fred looks like he could not be happier.
I know, Dave almost broke his heart when he mentioned not being able to make it to swordplay one week. Do you think you would ever be interested in some medieval swordplay?
Well, I do love sports, but I don't know if this one's right for me.
I feel you with that. It does seem a little bit too technical and a little bit too dangerous for me, so I will be staying away as well.
Did you ever have trouble making friends given your disability?
Yeah, I did. Growing up, I was really badly bullied, like I mentioned earlier, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do now as part of my other job as a motivational speaker. I get to share my story and hopefully help other people who are struggling as well. And if you're struggling to make friends and want to learn more about LiveWorkPlay, visit liveworkplay.ca.
Or maybe you just want to try your hand at swordplay, you can visit the Ottawa Swordplay group at ottawaswordplay.com.
Stay tuned for more after this break. This is AMI This Week.